right. Here we go. I'll tell you what a great Thursday morning, huh?
Yes. Beautiful day.
The question is, did either of you get your coffee this morning?
Half a cup.
Half a cup?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't sleep too good last night.
No?
No, we have a dog that loves to snore very loudly.
Snore.
She does snore. Yeah.
But is she a security dog?
Yes.
She thinks she is.
Yeah, she has she securely positions herself behind us, hiding if anything happens. So
Or in front of her food bowl, one of the two.
I shouldn't have said that. Beware of dog at our house for people.
Absolutely.
Big, ferocious toy poodle.
Absolutely. Will bite your face off.
Bite your face off.
Good morning and welcome to Thursday morning's MoneyLinc with Gayle and Steve Meeks. We're the Maniacs. Come on out, join the feed, ask all the questions you can of our financial experts, Steve and Gayle Meeks.
Good morning,
morning.
everybody.
Yes.
We get that in stereo. Good morning, better half.
Good morning, hubby.
Oh. You're going to take the better half stuff? Absolutely.
Yes, I'll take the better half for sure.
Absolutely. I would think
I
so.
need any kind of, anything you can give me.
Oh.
I'm good.
Oh.
Yes.
I will keep on.
So yeah, I have to give a little. I'm going to go through it.
Okay.
So, driving to the studio today, Steve tells me I give him gas.
No, I said I take Tums, not gas. There's different types of gas.
Well,
Yeah.
but the same thing, right?
No, acid.
Acid. Okay, I give him acid.
Yeah, you eat Tums for
Gas,
acid.
acid,
Yeah,
same
you
thing.
stress me out.
Yeah, and that's because I don't know about y'all, but I wait till the light turns on to get gas for the car, and Steve does not.
Well, there's two kinds of people. You wait to see how accurate that distance meter is on your car. It says
said I have
can you
40 more
actually
miles.
drive 10 more miles before you run out of gas?
It said I have 40 more
yes,
miles.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
a long,
not that guy. I'm
long
like,
time.
I'm quarter tank left. Let's go fill up.
Mm-hmm.
So we're,
You're the preparer, the planner. Yeah, you're the preparer and the planner.
Yeah. So I'm the preparer and the planner. Don't want to have there's enough crises that go on. We don't need to add it to the car.
All right. Well,
but see, you're the risk taker. You're the risk taker. You like seeing that.
I had to apologize.
What's that?
why?
Well, she started to come down on you, so I turned her mic off.
Oh.
Oh.
As I turn around, JP, that's awesome. Thank you so much this morning.
Y'all, it's 2 against 1 here.
Hey.
Just want you to know.
Male engineer.
All right, and I can see the social feed blowing up already.
So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here.
Yeah, I would. Thanks for leaving me hanging.
You're welcome.
It was good for a moment.
Yeah.
It was good for a moment. It's over.
Yeah, MoneyLinc, here you go.
Yes, dear. You can drive the car until there's 1 mile left on the gas.
Well, but I'll drive you anywhere.
That's right.
Yes.
That's what
This
you
is
said.
true.
That's what you said when we first met.
Yeah, it is actually.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Maniacs, thanks for joining us this Thursday
Yeah. Good
morning.
morning, everybody.
Rise and shine, right?
Well, like I said, if you have a dog that was
Snoring all
in
night.
your ear,
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So let's go ahead and go over some fun topics.
okay. What do we have? What do we have this morning?
Secure Act.
Oh, that's
It's so fun.
it's so fun. It's so fun. All right, for those of you that might not know what it is, this is, nothing like starting your morning talking about a tax code. Yay. How
Yay.
exciting. And so
Taxes.
Yeah, right. And so one of the things with the COVID stuff, well, actually not really with COVID, it was for just a
Yeah, this
tax
was
law.
in December 20th, 2019 is when it went into effect.
Yeah.
So
It seems like 2020 has lasted for about 10 years, so
no joke.
yeah, so we have these were the tax code changes, that kind of went over. So one of the things exactly, and that's our show today. So what were some of the things that came about? What are the things that you saw?
Let's see. With the Secure Act, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are these things called RMDs,
Yep.
required minimum distributions, which had to be taken at age 70 and a half.
Yep.
before.
And this stuff's really important, you know, and for those of you that might, obviously you're not 70 and a half or 7, but some of you watching might be getting close to that age, or your parents. This is why we talk about these things. And it's not so much about getting into the minutia of taxes. It's how much you can be hurt financially. That's
right.
kind of the idea. And remember, our overall theme is not just how much money can you earn, but how can you minimize losses unnecessarily.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that has to do with taxes. I mean, I'm as patriotic as the next guy, but I don't want to pay any more taxes than I have to.
Right.
And that can happen when you just don't know the rules.
Yes.
And a lot of this stuff is nobody takes the time to teach us the rules before.
Right. And RMDs are important because you need to make sure that you take that out properly and you plan for it properly.
Yeah. And think of all the classes that we've taught, Gayle, and we always ask that. And these are people, that might be 55, 65, and we ask, do you know what an RMD is? And literally ask them to raise their hand. And what percentage would you say actually raise their hand and know about it?
Oh, not very many, actually.
Yeah, and so that's kind of why we want to go over these things. So here's the deal with that. Basically, these 401ks, IRAs, teachers, if you're listening, you have what's called a 403B, 457s, and you hear all these numbers, which are basically that's the tax code number.
Right.
What they really are is that's your retirement accounts. They're called tax deferred accounts.
Right.
That's the
Which
fancy
means
term.
You're postponing your taxes until later.
Exactly. You're just postponing. You're kicking the can down the road. The government basically said, hey, guys, we're going to create this new actually, it's an interesting story on that one, when we get into that with the RMDs. But we'll get to the RMDs in a minute, the creation of the 401k.
Right.
Which reminded me, a lot of people don't know where that came from. And actually, in the early 70s, it was put in place because of high-end corporate executives couldn't get enough tax breaks.
Right.
And so these lobby interests went to Congress basically and said, "Can you give us something?" Believe it or not. Now, I'm simplifying the story, and I never want to get into politics on this show because trust me, Gayle and I are equal opportunity. Both sides wrote these rules over time. It is what it is. And how the rule got there, don't get upset. Just this is the game.
And we got to work with the game we're playing.
Yeah, we got to work with the game we're playing. So basically, way back in the 70s, they had these 401ks. They developed these 401ks. Was that about right?
Yeah.
And these corporate executives, because they didn't have enough tax breaks because they had higher income.
Exactly. So they needed a tax break to show that they weren't making as much money. So you put the money in before you got taxed.
Exactly.
And then you didn't show that you were making that as much income.
Right. And back then, a lot of the companies still had these great pensions.
Yes, they did, actually.
Yeah, it was really, I had a little bit of retirement savings. You had the pensions and Social Security. You worked for the company, and it was great. Well, as time went on, the accountants in all these companies looked at the tax code, and what's their job? To try and make these companies as cash efficient as possible and have lower liabilities because, a company like, General Motors, they don't make a living having pensions.
Right.
They make a living selling their cars.
Right.
And so in one of these companies, it kind of went out across the community. An accountant said, you know what? If we just expand the use of the 401k to our employees, we don't need to do pensions and won't have that liability anymore. So the 401k actually wasn't designed to be a retirement account for the general population. It just kind of started that way.
Correct.
And that's where it came from. So just a little nugget in history of where it's at. And then that's why now today, what would you say, less than 15% of the population have pensions?
If
that.
Yeah.
And so most of us put monies in these 401ks for the future retirement.
Yes.
And from that, welcome to the rules on this.
Exactly.
Because the government basically said what? You can put money in here and you don't have to pay taxes on it, but you can't do it forever.
Right.
We're basically going to want some of this back. And because we need it, And so they came up with that, the required minimum distribution. And this is the essence of this, guys, is why it's so important that you tell your parents or grandparents and things like that is if you don't take an amount, a required minimum amount, mandatory.
Which changes every single year. So we can't say it's 10% or it's 15%. I mean, it
Exactly.
changes every single year based on your age and
Yeah.
how much money you have and that sort of thing.
Yeah, this is the rule. It's a moving target for
Right.
everybody. That formula is going to change every year. And when it used to be at 70 and a half was the rule.
Correct.
Whether you needed the money or not, you had to pull out a certain amount of these out of these what's called pre-tax accounts. And so from there, if you didn't do that, remember what the tax penalty was?
Oh, yeah. It's a 50% penalty.
50%. Think about that, everybody. 50%. I mean, who gets upset if you got to pay a 10 or 15% tax bill?
No joke.
You get upset.
Right.
Yeah. Isn't it nice that, I mean, and remember, the government, and again, I'm not pointing fingers at both sides are in this, they're going to set up the rules. And you just got to play by the rules.
It's too bad, yeah.
And
I
so-
don't know about you, but like as I get older, my head gets more clear and I can think better. And,
Yeah, absolutely. The older I get, the more clear-headed I get. What did you just say? What was that?
You-
Huh? Wait, what were we talking about? What? Anyway, yeah. Okay, I'm back.
I think
now.
baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah, that's what it
Yeah.
was.
Wasn't that baseball?
That was baseball. And so if you don't do this right, that 50% tax penalty is, man, it's horrendous.
Yeah, think about when we talked about the mountain.
Yeah.
Coming down the mountain is what you call income planning. So that's going to make a dent in how much money is in your retirement plans. So you have to kind of plan for that, or you could cause you an issue.
Yeah, you could deplete these reserves a lot faster than what you thought. And that's why this required minimum distribution is so critically important. And what happens is you just don't think about it.
Right.
You don't. And the government, I'm not saying they're malicious on it, but the age demographic for all of us, you're just not as sharp. You don't start remember things, and you forget things. And you remember that we had somebody come into our office
Lord.
a year. Remember
Poor
that?
thing, yeah.
So go ahead and tell that story.
Actually had inherited a bunch of money, and she didn't know that there were RMDs that she needed to take. And it had been 5 years.
Yeah.
So she actually ended up owing $100,000.
I know. It was sad. And what happened with that, guys, is, her spouse had passed away.
Right.
So, her husband had passed away, and she inherited it. She was the beneficiary, so the rules applied to her. And her money was at a major investment firm that's very popular and well known. And they never notified her.
Right.
And she just assumed that notification would happen.
I think she inherited it from her parents.
No, that was another one.
That was
it
another
happened.
one?
It happened with twice. This
Okay.
one was just the required minimum.
Okay.
Yeah, and
So we're thinking of two different people.
and so when that happened, she was devastated.
Yes.
Because imagine you have to pull this money out because the government's making you pull it out, and the
Right.
market's going down at the same time.
Right.
I mean, how do you handle that?
Yes.
And so don't ever forget what we're about ready to talk about with this required minimum distribution. It like I said, it is the largest tax penalty in the tax code. And one of the things about that 70 and a half rule, and this is what was nice about the new law change. The old version was when you turn 70 and a half, the money has to come out.
Correct.
And then you think about the taxes. When's our tax due normally?
April 15th.
April 15th.
Right.
And so you would go, okay, that's when I got to make sure that's my deadline.
Correct.
No, the government in all their wisdom with the RMD said, no, the RMD's due on April 1st, April Fool's Day,
Right. Yeah.
which compounded the problem. Gotta love how they write the rules. So the Secure Act, what they did in last year with the rewriting of the code, is they made it simple, and then it's 70 and a half stuff. It's now
72.
It's now 72. So they kicked it down the road a little bit more. but you don't have to. You can wait a couple of more years, and you have to worry about those half numbers, which gets confusing.
It does get confusing.
Do
I take it out now? Do I take it out?
Yeah, and you get it double taxed and whatever. Right. But the biggest thing is, and for those of you listening, the people that that might be in this age group, please let them know about that required minimum distribution. It's so critical, especially in your retirement. I mean, your job's done.
Right.
And all of a sudden you get hit with this 50%, and you got to pull it out net.
Exactly.
Not gross.
Right.
So then, it's a terrible, terrible thing. But it happens.
Now they moved it to 72, which helps everybody, obviously. Then there's also, if you get an inherited IRA, they changed how long it takes to get how long you have to take the money out of the IRA. So before, there used to be something called a stretch IRA, where you could just take a percentage out every single year, and approximately when you turned 85 was when that money was depleted. Now they have it so you have to take that money, you have to empty the account within 10 years. You could be 9 years and 364 days, but that day you have to take everything out. Yeah.
And this is another thing. So for those, because as the baby boomer population, as everybody gets older, we're beginning to see more and more people that inherit these IRAs.
Right.
Come through the office.
Right.
And so here's the difference, guys. One is if I pass away and I have a retirement account, Gayle would receive it. She's the beneficiary. Now that's just natural between a spouse. But if we both pass away and our kids get that, that's an inherited IRA, and that would have different rules.
Correct. That's
basically the difference. So if you're not a spouse...
Right. It's a non-spousal beneficiary.
Yeah. So that's the kind of fancy legal term, and sometimes people get confused with that. Non-spousal beneficiary, huh? But it sure sounds cool.
Yeah.
Well, basically...
If your mom or your aunt or your uncle or... it can't be your spouse.
Can't be your spouse. It's that straightforward. And with all these retirement accounts, the government basically had this set up. And they said, if we're going to give hundreds of millions of people this tax break right now, the last thing we want to do, we want the money.
Yes.
We want the tax money. And so we want to make sure that this stuff doesn't go generationally.
Right. They want their money faster, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So they gave you from 71 or 70 and a half to 72.
Exactly.
However, they changed the inherited so that you have to pay it within 10 years rather than stretching that out till you're 85.
Yeah, because they used to be able to do that. That's why they call it a stretch IRA.
Right.
You could stretch it out over your lifetime to 85, but at 85, that account would be completely depleted.
Right.
So now that can be, for some people, a big tax burden.
Absolutely.
Because, you inherit $500,000 and you're working. Mm-hmm. And now you have to pull this money out, which is going to be reportable as income. And, oh my gosh, you're just welcome to a very, very high tax bracket. Mm-hmm. So how do you navigate those waters? What do you do? Do you take stuff out a little bit at a time?
Yeah, what's the best way?
Yeah. And the interesting thing about that, so what we're going with that is if you inherit one of these IRAs for you, just these are the little nuggets we don't want you getting hurt with. And that's kind of why we're going over it. Mm-hmm. That remember, you can't keep it indefinitely in there. You can hold it for 10 years without taking any money out. But on that, like Gayle said, on that, one day before that 10th anniversary, all of it has to come out. And it will be reportable as income. And so the tax could be huge. Right.
I would say that if you get an inherited IRA that's not from a spouse or an inherited 401k or an inherited, 403b, all of those that are pre-tax accounts, I would say it would probably behoove you to speak with either a CPA or a financial planner.
Yeah.
So that you can decide and figure out how much taxes, which way is the best way to take the money out.
Exactly, because everybody's going to be a little different. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of why it's good to talk with people like myself and Gayle and sit down, because we're not going to let you just say, okay, this is what you should do, especially with something that could have this kind of tax bomb.
Right.
We have ideas, and there's...
Well, we'll collaborate with your CPA.
Yeah, to make sure that that's correct and done in a most efficient manner. I mean, you're going to be spending money.
Correct.
That's going to happen. It's just, how do we get out of here with the least amount of damage? Mm-hmm. If there's a way to do that. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we do offer complimentary consultations if you'd like to contact us at Gayle, Gayle, at Interlinc with a C at the end, financial.com.
And that's Gayle at Interlinc with a C, financial.com.
Or 214-778-5645.
214-778-5645. I don't call our office line very much.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. I should remember that.
Yeah, you should remember.
As a financial planner, I should be better with numbers, don't you think? Remember,
Lord.
I didn't sleep well last night.
Babe, you know what? Being a trophy husband is very exhausting, I'm sure.
Well, thanks for the compliment. thanks for the compliment. Would you?
You are a trophy husband.
Oh, well, that was nice. Yeah. I consider you a trophy wife. So thank you very much. I got that on calling her a trophy wife? It should have been opposite. Everybody.
This has become young and the money list.
Young and the money list.
Come on, help me out here.
Any concerns on that last statement? Go to JP of JP, Kathy, and the crew with the. There we go.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much because
we'll be back next Thursday.
Because when I called her a trophy wife, was not what I was thinking. But okay.
I'm going to take it that he was doing that about the subject.
Oh, the subject.
Yes.
Oh, okay, that was
because
it.
I'm a positive thinker.
Because when we started the show, JP backed off really quickly and left me,
left you hanging.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It all comes around.
Yeah,
it all comes around.
It does.
So yeah. I mean this stuff with the taxes, nobody wants to talk about it. It's boring, but and I get it. But the government's kind of hoping that you ignore it.
Oh, well,
in a way, because that's how they're going to get, fill up their coffers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys get one of these inherited IRAs, like I said, you can contact us or make sure that, if you're interviewing people for guidance, preemptively ask them these questions, like, what do you know about, these inherited IRAs and how they work?
And the Secure Act.
Yeah. And the biggest thing with required minimum distributions is don't rely on the firm that you're with.
No.
They should let you know,
but a lot of times they don't.
They don't.
Yeah.
You're one of many, hundreds of thousands of clients they might have in these big firms, and
we
stuff falls through the
notify
cracks.
our clients every January, right? And
Yeah.
then again in December.
Yeah, to kind of go through that, and that includes, and guys, it's not just because you forget these.
Yes, you do.
It's how the IRS looks at the account. So it could be an annuity,
right?
That's classified
Yes.
as an
As an
IRA.
IRA,
Because
yes.
when you think of retirement accounts, you think stocks and bonds.
Right.
Stock market.
Right.
And I get that. But a lot of people have annuities
That are IRAs.
that are classified as an IRA. So just keep it simple. How does the IRS look at that account?
Correct.
And that's the rules that you got to follow.
That's right.
Because those get forgotten. But
They do.
But it's good that they moved it to 72.
Absolutely.
But you're right. In order to look at how much money they lost out, so they then switched the other side of the coin and said,
right,
stretch IRA no longer available.
That's right.
Accounts emptied in 10 years.
And then let's go ahead and go to the next topic of the day.
What are we doing?
COVID relief. Or should we do questions? Let's do questions.
Yeah.
Let's do
We'll kind of come around to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of our maniacs asked, is this a Steve Swami moment?
Oh.
Steve
I don't know how we're doing the Stewie Swami moment.
I ordered. Yeah. I
That
don't know what that was.
Okay, I don't know.
was my best Swami music.
Again, any comments to JP of JP, Kathy, and the crew, and the JP, Kathy Crew Network?
So
I tried. We have to queue up Swami music.
Yes,
next
we
time.
need to.
We need a 5-minute Swami
we'll,
moment.
We'll do that.
Yes. This is our
Because
moment.
Steve is the Swami.
Oh my gosh.
So I did order a crystal ball, but it hasn't come in yet.
And as long as
And
we
he's
can
gonna-
wait,
he's
the
gonna go
longer
like this, Yes.
the longer we can wait on the crystal ball, the better.
Steve's
Why do you
kind
s-
of an introvert, just so you know.
I really am. I'm not really an extrovert. Gail kind of
okay.
pulls me out here into the world.
That's right.
Don't.
So one of our maniacs asked, what is the average amount people live on in retirement as compared to when they're working?
Oh. Okay. The average amount. This isn't a Swami moment. This is just what we're seeing.
Yes.
Right.
Well,
Okay.
it's a Swami moment still.
No. Well,
It's a Steve Swami moment.
Steve
'cause
Swami
you get
moment.
to answer it.
I get to answer it. Okay. Well, so we get asked that a lot, and again, everybody hates to hear this, but it depends. How much you want to spend And what you're comfortable spending is going to obviously depend on how many resources you've saved up.
Correct.
I mean, that's the bottom line. If you come to me and say, and this happens, you only have $100,000 saved in retirement, and you want to live on $10,000 a month, after taxes.
Right.
Well, how does that math work? What is going on? It's not going to work.
Right.
I don't care how good we are at our jobs. It just is, unless you find something, even if it got a 500% return,
right.
Something like that. But I think on average, especially with the clients that we deal with, we don't, we do have what would considered high net worth, and we work with those people. But
Yes.
But I'd say the bulk of our clientele, and it was by design for the most part, is the average family that's just saved up and got their kids through college and wanted to take the RV and go around the country a little bit, stuff like that.
Right.
But
or travel a little bit.
yeah,
and,
yeah. But for the most time, most of it, they're not really over on their expenditure sides. As far as elaborate vacations, taking
Right.
10 a year
No.
and things like that.
Maybe a couple.
Just want to enjoy their grandkids and have a
Yes.
nice Christmas and things like that. Would you say really what we see on average, probably about, what do you think, 5,000 to 6,000 a month on average, or
On
what
average.
do you think?
So, but here's the thing.
You tell me.
What I see is people come in and they say, I live on, and this before they've retired.
Yeah.
I live on, right now we spend $6,000 a month, or maybe it's $10,000 a month. We've seen a lot lately that spend $10,000 a month.
Absolutely.
Or more. However, when they go into retirement, they're saying, let's say they spend $10,000 a month. When they go into retirement, they're saying, I'm going to go to $6,000 a month.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So what do you say about that?
Yeah, we get that a lot, and it's interesting. That's where we get into, that mathematical finance and behavioral finance.
Right.
So they're spending right now $10,000 a month, and let's say both spouses are working, and it's really funny. And I don't mean funny in a funny way, but just an interesting exercise.
Correct.
In how people will look at this. So we're not making fun of people per se. Because obviously
It's just human nature.
It's just human nature. Yeah. I mean, and the more you save and the less you spend, obviously it's going to last longer.
Right.
And so let's say both husband and wife combined allow them to spend $10,000 a month.
Right. And still put money back.
And still put money back.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be fine. This is not just, I'm paycheck to paycheck.
Correct.
And we do that exercise with families so they get an understanding of what retirement would look like.
Yes.
Then it could be the husband.
Generally what I say is one spouse will say, well, we're not going to have a house payment.
That's
Okay,
right.
That's great. So take the house payment out and go ahead and live on that amount, $6,000 a month with our example, and see how it works. And most of the time they'll come back after like 2 months and go, that's not going to work.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
And
So basically what I see generally is when one expenditure goes away, another expenditure shows up, unfortunately, and that's just life. And we also see that name any one year that you stay on budget completely.
Oh, we've never done it.
Yeah.
No, we've never done it. And do you notice that, like, as soon as you make that last payment on your car,
Yeah, something shows up.
that's when the car breaks down.
Yeah,
Finally, you need a new
exactly,
car, and you're
exactly.
like, "Well, do they design these things this way?" And they do practically. But I think the interesting one is that one. So in answering that question, how much do I need in retirement, or what's the average? You look at what you're spending now, and we what was that time somebody came to the office and I said both husband and wife, they were working. And it was not to point fingers at them, but to give them an exercise.
Yes.
And basically they said, well, they could live on retirement, which was basically the equivalent of one of their salaries.
Right.
And
Right.
Remember
And
that? Remember when you did that? And it was great because it helped us work together better,
Right.
having that conversation. So you remember what you told them?
Well, I remember the one couple, she got up and said, okay, I'll be leaving now. And she was joking.
Yeah,
but
she was joking. What basically Gayle said was, well, okay, you're living on.
My name is Evil Knievel.
Evil
I'm a
Knievel.
professional.
Evil Knievel came in.
So he needed. See, For Evel Knievel, his medical bills, I mean
That's true.
that he
They
needed
would
to
take
plan.
him off budget.
He needed to plan.
The ghost
Absolutely.
of Evil Knievel just visited the two of you.
That's right. You know, I want to have you know that I had the Evel Knievel stunt cycle.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I did too. I
Yeah.
went and saw his gravesite. In the
Did you
Dakotas.
really?
Yes.
So those I'm dated. Look, I'm dating myself when I said that, and I'm proud to do it because Evel Knievel was a stud. So, oh yeah, anybody that kind of do that.
How about Knight Rider?
Oh, Knight Rider was there. Absolutely. Children of the
I like
80s.
the car with the thing that goes back and forth.
That's the Knight Rider.
That's
Yeah, sorry about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we could only have a car like that, and now we do. It's called a Tesla.
Yeah.
Drives on its own. So when we looked at that stuff, again, I'm getting older. What was I talking about again? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you were talking about
Yeah,
the-
you told him, you said, okay, if you only need to live on what would the equivalent is one of your salaries, start it now.
Yeah.
Do it now. And their first response was, I can't do that.
Right.
And I said, well, if you can't do it now, what makes you think that you're going to be able to do it later? Because they were mostly debt free. There was no
Yes.
extravagant,
Right.
They
Right.
weren't using it.
Right.
But that was the exercise. And so you start coming back, and now you have a foundation to say, okay, so on paper, what your head was telling you was realistic was not balancing with your heart on what you would like to do.
Correct.
And so as you build for the future, you kind of want to look at saying as best as possible, don't say, well, I'm not going to have these bills.
Right.
This is going to be lower.
I mean, now if you're retiring while your children are still in college and you're needing to still cover that
Yeah.
that's an expenditure that'll go
Yeah,
away.
that's a different story.
But if you are retiring and you don't have any extra expenditures that go to other people per se, whether it's a family member or children, which I guess technically is a family member,
Sure.
then you're pretty much probably going to stay on the same amount of budget that you were when you were working.
Pretty close, and that's realistically what we see. There really isn't as much of a cutback as what you would see, and the only way that cutback really happens, and you want to avoid this if possible, is if the amount of money you save forces that reduction in lifestyle.
Yeah, well,
the math
that
is
can
forcing,
happen.
which happens also.
Right.
You want to sustain this comfort level, but you can't.
Right.
But on average, just to kind of with all that talking, I'd say about 5,000 to 6,000 on average. For the most part.
For the most part, there are people that
there's
live on 10 and 14 and 14,000.
And we see people live on 3.
Yeah.
3,500, and we're
so
shocked
pretty
by
much
that.
whatever
But-
you are living on while you're working is likely going to be what you're living on in retirement.
Pretty much
because
in
that's
that
what you're
zone.
used to.
Yeah, that's your comfort.
Right.
So.
All right, Michelle, one of our maniacs,
Hi, Michelle.
she says, does a credit score matter anymore when you retire? I mean, you use it so much to get cars, credit lines, houses, etc. before you get retired. So why do you need it? Do you need it still to stay high when you're retired?
And we get that one too. That was a great question, by the way.
Yes, great question, Michelle.
Yeah. So do we get the Knight Rider sound on that one, or? There we go. Great question, Michelle. There you go. As we continue, remember JP Cat. Let's go. We have that. Credit scores are important.
Yes.
To maintain.
Yes. Why?
And when we have in retirement, what we've seen, people as they're getting closer to retirement, one of the types of things that we normally would see was an acceleration to get the house paid off, an acceleration to get the car paid off, so just get everything taken care of.
So that they don't have anything bills except for like utilities and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And you look at those things and they completely make sense, on the surface. But there's a danger to that. And, because you've basically taken all your excess cash and focused it on paying bills and not stockpiling for the future. That's why you kind of want to have a balance there.
Right.
And again, working with a financial professional can kind of help guide you, down that path, because with anything, if you have some strategy and you go too far one way, it's usually not the best way to go. There's usually a balance there.
Right.
But when you get into retirement, now, and I get it, your job's done and you want to protect your money and stuff, but is that the only car you're ever going to have for the rest of your life?
Well, I mean, how long do you say from, let's say somebody retires at 65, how long are they going to live?
Yeah, it could be another 30 years.
Right.
Easy,
Especially with today's medical care.
Yeah. Yeah, and you might need...
So do you think your car is going to last 30 years? Probably not.
Yeah, and so you might need, and technology changes. For all we know, you won't be able to drive the car you currently have because some laws say that it's not environmentally friendly enough and you're mandated to change out. Who knows?
Yeah, you don't know.
And again...
So you're going to need that credit.
Yeah, it would be good to have that credit so that you could, especially right now, with interest rates being as low as they are, it's practically free money to do that.
To go ahead and just have a payment rather than pay it all at once. 'Cause
Yeah.
if you pay it all at once, that means you're taking it out of a retirement account. And if you're taking it out of a retirement account, then that's that much less there is to then have compound interest, which we talked about last show, but compound interest in your favor.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. This is another habit, and again, these go back to rules of thumb.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Do we have a question on?
We do. We have
do have
somebody
a
that
question.
texted me a question. What is compound interest?
Aha.
What does that look like in this model?
In this model, well, when we look at compound interest, it's basically, and we talked about this on one of our previous shows. And we had mentioned that Albert Einstein had mentioned it's the eighth wonder of the world. And it's
correct.
Interest,
And
earning
Fred-
on interest.
Fred said that.
Oh, Fred said that?
Yeah, he did.
He did say that?
Yep.
So,
Good job, Fred.
way to
One
go,
of our
Fred.
maniacs. Yay, Fred!
So when we look at that, basically you have simple interest where just interest is earning on the principal very
Correct.
simply over time. But we also have compound interest, which is what you want, is not only interest earning
On
interest.
interest,
So it starts doubling and quadruple, and it starts runs faster.
Right.
So here's the thing: one of the rules of thumbs is you should have no debt at no time, and there's no right or wrong with this. I'm not picking on any philosophy. What I'm trying to go is say that understand what fits for your world. Everybody's a little different, and we have these catch-all rules that you think apply to everything.
Right.
And some people that follow those rules could be financially suicidal for them.
Yes.
And one of these things with debt is never have debt, pay cash for everything. Okay. That's a great thing. We know that debt is bad in general.
And sometimes it doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't feel good because you
Right.
have that overhanging and you don't want that. So you want to pay cash. So you're dealing with a car payment and you have, and I'm going to make the math kind of simple when you see this, and the car's worth $30,000 or $40,000. Now let's make it 50. Make it 50.
Okay.
Okay.
$50,000.
75.
60.
Let's make it 85. No, but let's say it's $50,000. And you only have $200,000 to your name that you have to make last the rest of your life, and you're not working anymore.
Right.
Should you write a $50,000 check and deplete that account?
Probably not.
Why not?
Because you might need it in the future.
Exactly. And so now you're debt free, and this is what Gayle was getting at, but you have to take two sides of this thing into consideration. And there's a term that we talk about in our practice a lot called opportunity cost.
Yes.
And that's it's a financial term. And business owners know this very, very well.
Yeah, they should, at least.
For the most part, they know this very well. And basically, what we try and teach our clients, and when we do our classes, and we bring them into our practice, we, as best as possible, want to teach them like a business owner.
Yes.
And the reason is we ask a question all the time. Traditionally, who makes more money? The person that works for the company or the person that owns the company?
The one that owns the company.
The one that owns the company.
Right.
And this has got nothing to do with intelligence, everybody. We've met a lot of dumb business owners. Okay, it just happens.
Yes.
But what they're able to do is it's not about that. But because of the position that they're in, and they happen to have good people around them to develop a successful business, what they look at money differently.
Yes.
And so that's why they know this term opportunity cost.
Right.
And what opportunity cost is if I paid too much in taxes unnecessarily, like that required minimum distribution we were talking about, that money's gone forever.
Right.
It's out of that coffer. And so you not only lost the money, but you lost what that money could have earned for you over time in an investment forever.
Which you wouldn't think, oh, that's that much, but actually it is huge.
Yeah, and you look at this over time, and we actually have a slide that can show that. And so when you look at that, and you see these things, kind of manifest itself, and putting these pieces together, that now tells you, should I pay cash for something?
Right.
Or should I take the loan?
Right.
Because, it would be a better business decision for my family. And that's kind of what we're trying to figure out. And we have a graphic here that kind of shows that with opportunity cost, which is actually surprising.
Right.
So when we see these things, let me see if I can kind of bring that up a little bit.
Yeah, why don't you bring that up?
And I'll see what I can come into. So when we have these kind of working.
So technical, we're doing some little technical things here to get our screen up.
Yeah, because one of the things that we had last time, we wanted to make sure that everybody could see the screen.
Yes.
And kind of see what we're talking about. Because right now it's just kind of this abstract
stuff. You got your
stuff.
module up, Steve?
Not yet. I will in a minute. So let me see if I can find one of these things.
Almost.
So let's see what we got here. Because I kind of like pictures, and we look at these things and see.
It'll help to kind of see
if
it.
I can find it here. One of these things.
Are we doing the opportunity cost or the?
No, we're kind of seeing if I can find it here. As I bring these here. Let me see if I can find it here. So that's fine. So let me see if I can find that module.
What's on the bottom? We got it?
Almost. Yeah, we'll get there.
Sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
All these technical things. And it'll come up in just a moment.
Okay. So here's the thing. And this is kind of the lost opportunity.
You got it?
Yeah, I think I got it. Okay, so are we on the screen here?
Yep. Looks like it.
And this is an extreme example, but this shows why debt is bad.
Yes.
And the lost opportunity of that when we're talking about credit cards and high interest rates.
Right.
But that's not the same if we're talking about 0% financing.
That's true.
And so you always put this in context. So don't just say, you should have no debt no matter what. The concept of that was because interest rates are high.
Right.
And how suicidal that can be, and we know that.
Right. Well, there we go.
So here's an example, and this is over time. Guys, let's say you have a credit card balance of $10,000.
Right.
Okay, and hopefully everybody can see this. You can kind of see where we're going here. And a credit card, it's not uncommon to have an 18% interest rate on a credit card.
Or more.
Right. And let's say we have an investment account earning 5%.
Okay.
Okay, which is conservative.
Right.
We're not even talking about that.
Right.
And we're also talking about over your lifetime, over years.
Correct.
Because once you pull the money out of this account, it's gone forever. It's lost that opportunity.
Correct.
And this is kind of what we're trying to explain. So on a credit card, if you have a $10,000 balance, you would pay $1,900 a year in interest.
In interest.
And if you never paid it off over your lifetime, You pay
over
$78,000.
40 years.
40 years.
78,000, yeah.
That's going to go out of your hands that you just didn't even know. And that's the thing. It's like over time, you're talking about money. What really gets us are these little itty pieces over time. It's almost like death by a thousand cuts.
Yes.
We know we can get shellacked on a big one.
Yep.
But really, that's the little ones kill us over decades.
Right. That we're not even knowing that's there, really.
So here's the thing. Imagine I didn't have to pay that $1,900 a year
Right.
in interest.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But I could pay myself
Right.
and save it and earn just 5%. Over the next 40 years, how much would that 5%, that 1,900 have grown by?
And that's compounded.
And that's the compound interest that people ask about. It's $238,000.
I mean, that's amazing.
So it's staggering. So the difference between that, what you paid to the credit card, and you could have had 238 instead of 78. That's that lost opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so remember
so when
this.
people ask, should I pay my house off faster? Or
Faster.
should I pay my car off faster?
This
is what we see in our heads.
Yeah, this is what we see is that, yeah, you can write that big check. And, but however, there's two sides to that coin. And we're talking to people, you've already saved these accounts.
Right.
It's in there. So,
right.
We're not building wealth. We're trying to stabilize it to use it for the rest of your life. Well, when you write that big check, you've now lost the opportunity of that 5%. And we could live another 30 years. So
right.
These numbers aren't out of whack. Now, the reason that high interest rate credit cards are so terrible is, over 40 years, how much does the credit card company make on you?
Right.
Because that's why they charge
$13 million.
So they look at that.
Unbelievable.
So when we see these things, that's why you got to be careful on should you pay this off or not.
Right.
And again, working with someone to actually just kind of bat these ideas off of, because once that money's gone, it's gone.
Right.
Now, so
if we could teach them how to be the credit card company.
Oh, that's a whole different story. Yeah, if we could teach you how to be the credit card company and earn 18%, then game over. We're done.
Exactly.
Show's over, everybody. We're done. Episode 3, we're done. So it's all done. But, so is credit important? That's the essence of this question, Michelle, and not to kind of just drag that out, but yeah, it can be. Because when you hit retirement, let's say you are in a low interest rate environment like we are here. Mm-hmm. It's better to use somebody else's money than your own.
Right. In this low interest rate environment. Absolutely.
Because you're paying 1% on the loan and you're earning 5% on your own money,
right.
Take the payment.
Right.
And
now here's my question.
Yeah.
If you have, let's say, $1 million in your IRA.
Okay.
And you owe $150,000 on your house.
Right.
Are you in debt?
Now, I know the answer to that.
I'm asking.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that the Maniacs, I wonder if they could answer.
Yeah, put in the comments your answer.
Yeah. And so when you look at this stuff and, are you in debt if you have $1 million available, liquid?
Correct. Well, liquid, yeah.
Liquid.
You could do liquid.
And you have a mortgage payment that you're making, but you owe $150,000 left on your mortgage. Are you in debt?
Right. And
the answer is no. You are not. And again, this is how I want you thinking as a business owner.
You're choosing to.
Yep.
You're choosing to do it differently and basically use somebody else's money.
Right.
But you could pay that off at any moment. So you're really not in debt.
Yeah. Being in debt is an obligation on your income over time.
Right.
That money will come in so that you can pay off down the road.
Right.
But if you have the money already, you are not in debt. Now, technically you are, but if you can pay it off at any given time, you're actually in the driver's seat.
Right.
You can choose whether to use your own money or use the bank's money.
Right. Why does the bank like for you to pay it off faster?
Well, the bank likes to pay, and you get this with 15-year loans and 30-year loans and 20-year loans.
That's why they give an incentive of having a lower interest rate for a 15-year versus a 30.
Absolutely. And you hear all these bank loans, and I want you to, again, just as you think about these things, because it's all about understanding, and now that you understand maybe how the game's played, you can help your family a little bit better. But what is it that we say? You have 15-year mortgages, 20-year mortgages, 30-year mortgages, jumbo loans, balloon payments.
Right.
If the bank made the same amount of money on every single loan,
There would be one kind.
there'd only be one kind of loan.
That's right.
So why do they have so many? And when you look at that, which one do they make the most money on? And the idea for the bank is they want you to pay the loan off quicker
Yes.
because they can take that money, wrap it, get it back into somebody else's hands, and just continue the process. That's why when you might have a 30-year loan, that's, let's say now, today, let's say it's 3.75, and you have a loan that's a 15-year mortgage, which is 2.75, and you have that difference of those two. Well, your first instinct is take the cheaper interest rate, right? Because look at how much interest I'll save,
Right.
which is a true statement.
It is true.
But you're also missing something else, and there is I don't know if you want to go over that slide.
Yeah, go for it.
To kind of show the
Oh, the
difference.
slide? No, let's just go over
or just talk about it in concept.
Yeah,
with
just in concept.
Just the loan versus compound interest.
Yeah, just concept.
Yeah. So
We can go over that slide maybe another time.
yeah, another time.
Yeah.
So basically, what we're looking at is with that loan and compound interest stuff is we traditionally in this environment, and again, guys, it all depends on what game we're playing in. In 1982, a lot of people might not know this or remember. Some of our audience will. A 30-year mortgage was a 15 to 18% loan
Right.
on a 30-year mortgage. So heck yeah, pay that thing off as fast as possible because that's a lot of interest.
Well, and you're not gaining that probably.
And you're not gaining that in your accounts. But today, because of what the Federal Reserve has done, you're down now to like, what, 3, 2s, whatever.
Right.
It's practically free money. First of all, the interest at some level is tax deductible. So what's your net cost on the loan?
Right.
But traditionally, there's exceptions, and I want to say there's exceptions. But more often than not, we'll tell them take the 30-year loan.
Right. And then whatever the difference in the payments were,
Yeah.
save that.
Yeah.
Because if you could pay a mortgage at 15 years, that means your house payment was going to be higher
Exactly.
each month.
But also we do it for cash flow protection. Because if you're on a 30-year, let's say a 30-year loan is $500.
Right.
And a 15-year loan is $1,000. And we do this for safety. What if you lose your job? What if a big emergency happens? You're
You
still
can't
locked.
refinance at that point
No,
if you've
but-
lost your job.
Yeah, but you're still locked into that $1,000
Yes, you
payment
are.
no matter what.
Right.
The bank's in control of your cash flow. Where if you take the $500 payment, you can always double up if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always, if it works.
Does it make sense to double up and pay off your house if that's not the house you're going to stay in for the rest of your life?
Sometimes not.
Yeah.
Sometimes not. And these are all those little nuances and nuggets and things like that because everybody's different.
Yes.
But just on an easy part, being in control of your cash flow in your house and not having a bank or a firm in charge of it is more important.
Yep.
I would think.
I would too.
Because things are going to happen.
Right.
And so we look at these things.
So I'm going to go ahead and, so last time we had a competition to name the mountain.
That's
Remember?
right. We had the mountain.
Yes. So the mountain, if you remember right, was it almost looked like a triangle. Well, it was a triangle.
It was a triangle. That's the best I
Yes.
could come up with on the
So
slide.
so you go up the mountain or down the mountain. Anyway, we asked our maniacs to go ahead and name the mountain, and we had several wonderful entries. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks for
Our
playing.
competition winner is Shay Drake.
Yay!
$25 gift card. So Shay, I'll be contacting you through Messenger, so I know that. So I know how to get that to you.
That's right.
So it. Oh Lord.
We'll also be sending you a Evel Knievel stunt cycle and a Knight Rider replica.
No,
we won't. No, we
Just
won't.
a
No, we
$25
Don't make
gift card.
promises you can't keep.
Just kidding.
Don't do
Just
it.
kidding.
That is a JP Kathy the Crew Network warning. Caution. Because if you're sending him one, I want one too.
Exactly.
So he named it Mount Green.
Mount Green.
Yes, which is perfect. I love
That is.
Love that.
That's a great name. So Mount Green.
So thanks to all that participated in that. We enjoyed all of the names that you came up with.
Mm-hmm.
And Shay, you're the winner.
Congratulations.
Yay. All right. So we have more questions. You ready?
Oh, sure. What do we got?
Okay.
What do we got?
Why is there a coin shortage?
Well, you're better positioned to kind of answer that a little bit, but we got about
5 minutes.
we got about a little bit here.
So I just went ahead and printed this out. And believe it or not, the reason why there's a corn shortage is nothing to do with people throwing money into a wishing well to wish that 2020 was over. Did you know that?
I threw my coins in there. Wish 2020 was
you're
over.
part of the coin shortage.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on.
In fact, I'm probably going to keep on doing it every day. So, is it over yet? Is it over yet? Is it over yet?
So the short answer to that is that there's a lot of, obviously, business closures with the COVID-19.
Absolutely.
We had to actually close down unless you were essential, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And because of that, the circulation was slower, which slowed the pace of the patterns of the U.S. coins. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a big disruption in the supply chain.
Yeah. I mean, there just weren't the same number of people weren't out there spending the money, you know, and using but it's interesting. It's wondering, one of the things that's happened because of this is maybe it has accelerated our use of just using digital currency.
Maybe.
You know, just the debit cards and stuff.
Some people are happy about that and others are not.
Exactly.
So.
You know, there's nice to have the just hard currency backup. But, you know, when you start shutting down restaurants and bars and hair salons and some states are still shut down.
I know.
You know, I mean,
good thing we're in the great state of Texas.
Yeah, so here we are. We're keeping it open as much as we can, but when we're talking on a national level, I mean, well, then why are they putting the money out there? Nobody's going to the stores.
Right. I mean,
so
the circulation goes down, and then
yeah.
That's why.
But we always have those wishing wells out there that we can empty out to get back into the system.
Well, you know, you have to throw it in there to see if 2020 will go away.
That's absolutely. Because we love, oh man, we're in the home stretch, everybody. Let's hope 2021, here we come.
Absolutely. So
yes, we have a question.
I have a question.
What's the question?
How does change get to banks? Is it just consumers taking it in to change it out, and then they re-roll it and they redistribute it, or does it come from the Federal Reserve? How does change get to banks?
A little bit of both, actually. Great question. You know, and the Treasury. So, because obviously the mint, the federal mint, is making these things to get them out into circulation, and they send them out to the banks, and then the banks give them to the people give them out to the out into the business world.
Right.
And that's another topic that we'll talk about, but it's called the velocity of money, which is a little fancy term on what they're doing to kind of juice the economy. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about that on a later show, but that's where it comes from.
That's exactly where it comes from.
Yep.
So today we've gone over some questions. We'll answer some more questions next time. Mm-hmm. It looks like we need to go over rules of thumb in a little bit more depth.
Yeah, we'll break
next
that
time.
up. Yeah.
And we're going to have a Medicare specialist come. His name's Brandon. And,
right.
So all of y'all that need to know about Medicare and all the ins and outs, those that are not that age yet, but you need to know too, because you need to understand what your parents might be going through.
Yeah. And this is a big thing. And it talks
huge.
about unnecessarily losing money.
Right.
So if they're not listening, maybe you could say, hey, guys, this is why this is important. We run into this.
Refer it to them.
Yeah, and we're in the Medicare season. So that's
Yes,
why I wanted to do that.
Yes, we are.
Also, don't forget, more maniacs.
That's right.
We need
More
maniacs.
We do need
We
more
do.
maniacs.
Sign up to be a
share it.
MoneyLinc
So-
maniac. I mean, holy
Yep.
mackerel, right? Mm-hmm. And then I want to, if I can, as a network, invite all of your listeners and viewers to join us on November 11th as we raise money for disabled veterans.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
For
absolutely.
the Disabled Veteran Telethon that JP Kathy and the Crew Network is going to host from 7:30 to 5:30 on November the 11th. So, I mean, to take away some of your time.
No.
We love that.
I can spend the next 20 minutes if you want to talk about that. It's
Absolutely.
one veteran sitting over here.
Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
going to say, not like veterans are very near and dear to our hearts.
Oh, absolutely. We go the extra mile if we can when they come into
Oh,
our office.
definitely.
Not taking away from civilians, but you know.
Y'all have a blessed day. We really enjoyed being
Yeah.
with you today, and have a great rest of your day and a wonderful weekend.
Absolutely.
Advisory services are offered by Interlinc Financial Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Texas. Insurance products and services are offered through Texas Family Insurance, Inc., an affiliated company. This has been brought to you by JP Cathy and the Crew Network. MoneyLinc, brought to you by Interlinc with Steve and Gayle Meeks. Join them Thursdays in the morning at 7:30 as you refresh yourself with your own cup of coffee as they enjoy theirs as well. Have a blessed weekend, as Friday is tomorrow and then Saturday follows.